My name is Connor, and when I look back on my 15-year marriage to Mandy, I can hardly believe how blonde I was. We met when we were just 19, young and reckless. She was a waitress at a diner near my college campus. I was a freshman with big dreams, but little direction. We clicked right away over late-night cups of coffee and conversations about music and movies. Before we even really knew each other, we had jumped into marriage and started a family. Our first child, Jacob, came along when we were 21. We were just kids ourselves, trying to raise a baby in a cramped studio apartment while finishing school. Money was tight as we balanced part-time jobs and classes. Mandy's parents had disowned her for getting pregnant out of wedlock, so we had no family to turn to. I worked as a bartender and Mandy waitress at night while our neighbor watched the baby. We argued a lot about how to make ends meet. Mandy wanted me to drop out and work full-time while she stayed home, but I was determined to finish my engineering degree. I thought we'd both have to work and make sacrifices if we were going to provide any kind of decent life for our son. Those years nearly tore us apart. If not for our love for Jacob, I don't know if we would have made it. By the time our daughter Wendy was born, we were 25. We had settled into an uneasy compromise. I had finally graduated and secured an entry-level job with a construction firm. Mandy continued waitressing part-time for the flexible hours and extra cash. We bought a small house in the country, thrilled to finally have space and a backyard for the kids. Those early years were filled with chaos, but also joy. I worked long hours as a junior site manager, often leaving before dawn for faraway construction sites. I cherished the weekends, spending sunny Saturdays in the yard, kicking a ball with Jacob and pushing Wendy on the swing set. On Sundays, we would go to the zoo or children's museum, making memories as a family. When I got home from work, I was exhausted. Mandy would have dinner ready, but sometimes I would go straight to bed afterwards, weary from being on my feet all day, yelling at contractors and troubleshooting problems on the work site. Mandy started hinting that she wanted to go back to school for interior design, but we couldn't afford full-time daycare. I told her to wait a few more years until the kids were both in school. I thought we were making it work. The kids were happy and healthy, and Mandy and I had settled into a comfortable routine. Well, at least that's the way it looked. Looking back now, I can see the signs were there all along. When the kids reached school age and Mandy started taking some classes, she began coming home later and later. She said it was group assignments, but I would call the school and no one had heard of any night classes. When I asked to see her syllabus, she got defensive and accused me of being controlling. Mandy started going out more too, claiming it was just mom's nights for wine and venting. Sometimes she didn't stumble home until midnight or later. When I complained that she needed to be up to get the kids on the school bus, she accused me of smothering her. I backed off, wanting to be supportive and not be the bad guy. I figured she was bored from working all the time, or watching the kids when she was off work, and needed to blow off some steam now and then. As the kids were getting older, the cracks in our marriage were becoming canyons. Mandy was still taking random night classes, but didn't seem interested in pursuing interior design anymore. We rarely spent time together, and when we did, we ended up arguing about money or childcare logistics. She was hanging out with single gal pals, going to clubs and coming back reeking of alcohol and cigarette smoke. I was smoking too, picking up the habit from the endless stress of job site emergencies. We slept in separate rooms by then and avoided each other as much as possible. I buried myself in work, thinking if I could just make foreman, then supervisor, it would smooth things over. Mandy continued going out more and more, not coming home until early morning some nights. I tried to shield the kids from it as best I could, but I know Jacob and Wendy sensed the tension simmering below the surface. Finally, one night, it all exploded. Mandy didn't come home at all. I sat up until the sun crept in, fury and dread churning in my gut. Around 5 a.m., she finally rolled in, reeking of alcohol and sweat, smeared makeup all over her face. When I demanded to know where she'd been, she burst out laughing. I was with my lover, Rick. We've been hooking up for months. You're such an idiot, Connor. This marriage is a joke. Her words hit me like a sucker punch as she rambled on about her boyfriend, Rick, how they'd been meeting for secret hookups in cheap motels, how he satisfied her in ways I never could. I felt sick. I wanted to scream and rage to demand answers, but the kids were asleep upstairs. So, I quietly told Mandy to pack a bag and get the fuck out. She left, still ranting and raving, slamming the door so hard the pictures on the wall shook. I sat stunned in the armchair. How could I have been so blind? The signs were all there, but I had ignored them, burying myself in work and the comfortable fiction of domestic life. I had lived a lot for years, right under my own roof. I didn't tell the kids right away. I let them get through the school week, trying to act normal, but inside I was reeling. On Friday afternoon, I finally sat Wendy and Jacob down. I broke the news about why their mom left, told them that their mom was having an affair with another man, and I asked her to leave. Jacob, now 15, turned red with fury. He immediately blamed Mandy, calling her a selfish cheat. He said he never wanted to speak to her again. Wendy, at 11, was more upset. She cried while I held her, huge, heaving sobs racking her slender frame. I didn't have any words that could make it better. All I could do was hug my kids close while our little world crumbled around us. In the months after Mandy left, I tried to cling to stability for the kids. I made breakfast and dinner, checked homework, and held my tears in until I was alone. Jacob hardly reacted outwardly after that first day, sealing up his emotions, but I could tell he was broken-hearted. Wendy remained withdrawn and weepy. Whenever Mandy called, trying to explain herself or win the kids back, they refused to speak to her. I stopped answering her calls too. There was nothing left to say. The divorce proceedings were almost anticlimactic after the bomb that had blown our family apart. Mandy tried every manipulation in the book, but it was too late. She blamed me, saying I had ignored her needs. She claimed I drove her into the arms of another man by being boring and unsupportive. At one point, she even tried to say our marriage failed because of lack of intimacy after the kids were born. She tried to turn Wendy and Jacob against me, telling them lies about how controlling I was. None of her gaslighting worked. Once I knew the truth, I saw her schemes for what they were: desperate ploys from a woman unwilling to take responsibility for her own destructive choices. In the courtroom, Mandy tried to blame me again for all her cheating and negligent behavior, but I had proof now in the form of emails and receipts from her secret hotel stays, credit card bills for restaurants and vacations she had taken with her lover. I presented the evidence calmly, though inside I shook with anger at the injustice of it all. Mandy broke down weeping and pleading, but it was far too late for any of that. In the end, the judge clearly saw her for what she was: an unfaithful wife and absent mother. Jacob had chosen to stay with me rather than his mother, but I couldn't get primary custody of Wendy. She was only 11 at the time, and we went 50-50 custody. That painful chapter closed over a year ago. The kids and I have slowly begun to heal. Jacob is still closed off emotionally and wants little to do with his mother. Their relationship may always be strained. Wendy, though, has found more acceptance. Once the initial shock and hurt faded, she realized she still needed her mom in her life on some level. They would occasionally go for a meal or shopping trip. I know Wendy's kindness will be a gift in mending that broken bond, and I will support her no matter what, just as I've supported both kids through this life-changing ordeal. As for me, the past year has been about rebuilding myself, my relationship with my kids, my sense of world. For over a decade, I believed one thing when the truth was something far more painful. Such a massive deception can corrode your very foundation, but I've also found unexpected sources of hope and joy where I least expected it. Her name is Marlene. I met her 6 months ago on a new construction project for luxury condos downtown. Marlene is a real estate agent. She is sometimes hired to style and stage the model units. I was immediately struck by her quick mind and kind spirit, so different from the turmoil I'd become used to at home. We started spending our site meeting coffee breaks together, chatting about life and work, then a drink after work turned into dinner. Before I knew it, we were spending every spare moment together. There was no lightning bolt moment of falling in love, just a steady warmth and rightness, like I had found a missing piece I didn't know was gone. Her presence soothed me, her laughter healed something. When I finally told the kids I had met someone, they were understandably weary. Their own mother had just ricked our family in two. How could they ever trust another woman entering our lives? But when they met Marlene, her gentle caring melted their doubts. She makes me feel alive again after years of just going through the motions. When we are together, I remember what a real partnership feels like. Knowing someone has your back, supports your dreams, wants to share the journey. I know we'll take it slow for the kids' sake, but I can picture a future with Marlene now, a chance to rebuild my life into something beautiful again. The path ahead has its challenges. I still have moments of grief and anger over Mandy's betrayal that catch me unprepared. My relationship with Jacob remains tentative. We are both wary of trusting too much again too soon. But rebuilding takes time, and all things grow stronger with care. What Mandy broke, Marlene and I commend. When I look back now on my failed marriage, part of me is sad for the naive boy I was who believed in happily ever after, but mostly I feel grateful. Grateful for second chances, grateful for my strong children who have stood by me through the hardest year of our lives, and grateful for Marlene, a woman whose love and light has lifted the shadows of the past. I don't know if I'll ever marry again. For now, I am focused on writing a new story one day at a time. It won't be perfect or predictable, but it will be real. My marriage to Mandy nearly broke me, but now my life is filled with hope once more. Part 1 Wisdom as a way of illuminating your path, help you move forward. And while the future is uncertain, I look ahead with an open heart, determined to appreciate every moment. Well, in my opinion, the fact that she told him that she was with the lover, wow, blatant disrespect for the marriage and the kids. People don't ever put up with shit like that ever. If you do, it shows a sign of weakness.